Algebra 1b, Objective 5, we're looking at writing equations for parallel and perpendicular lines. The first thing we're going to look at is just slope, because parallel and perpendicular lines has a lot to do with slope. If we have the slope of one line, and I tell you to give me a line that has a parallel that's parallel to it. Well, if we draw parallel lines really quick, and I'm not a great artist, but put these on the plane, whatever I go up and over, I should be going up and over the same amount on the other one, if this was drawn perfectly, obviously. So if the first one here has a slope of a rise of, let's say, rise of 2, right, and a run of 3, so if it has a slope of 2/3, a parallel would also have a rise of 2 and a slope of 3. Obviously, if it was drawn perfectly, it would. But so that's the first part we're looking at here is slope for parallel. Secondly, we have to look at slope for perpendicular. So let's look at that real quick. And let me see if I can draw this fairly well. Not perfect, but I think it's going to work. If I look at this one, and I'm just going to kind of guesstimate, right? Kind of guesstimate. And it looks like I got kind of a rise of 3 and a run of 2, right? Rise of 3, run of 2. Now let's try this one. Okay, and I know it's not drawn perfectly, but if it was, then we should get a rise of -2 and a run of +3 if it is in fact perpendicular here. Okay, well, if I keep doing this over and over and over again, right? I'll with different lines, I'll end up seeing that if I have 1/2 on the first one, that'll give me, make sure I'm on your screen here, that'll give me, make an arrow, -2 over 1, or -2. If I start out with 5, 6, the perpendicular would be -6 over 5. If I start out with -2/3, I'll end up for a perpendicular with +3 over 2. So you can kind of see what's going on here. If it was positive, it's becoming negative. If it was negative, it's becoming positive. Well, in math, that's called opposite, right? Opposite. If it was 1/2, it's becoming 2 over 1. If it was 5, 6, it's going to be 6 over 5. So it's flipping over. It's flipping over. In math, that's called reciprocal. So whatever the slope of the first one is, if it's perpendicular, the slope of the second one is going to be the opposite reciprocal. So those two ideas are going to bring us really, really far with this. Okay? Another thing that we need to look at is some of the forms for writing equations. One of them is slope-intercept. Okay? The basic formula for slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Down here, I'm just going to put this. It's the ordered pair. Like if this is, if you put in an ordered pair where this is 0, this is going to be b. Okay? So sometimes that helps you figure out what this is. All right? So that's slope-intercept. Another one is point slope. P-O-I-N-T-S-O-O. Point slope form. That is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. And this one I like. And the reason I like it is because it's really, really easy to make an equation out of this one. And so sometimes when they ask for something in point or slope-intercept form, I'll put it in point-slope form and do a little bit of algebra to get it there. Okay. Finally, we have standard form. Standard form, F-O-R-M, make sure I'm on your screen, I am. And that is AX plus BY equals C. And notice I put a different B in here because it is a different B. Like here and here, that is the same M, so it should have the same M, right? But this is a different B than that one, so I want to make sure that it's different. In this one here, the slope is the opposite of A over B. So while that's fairly easy to get, that part of it, and actually this is probably the easiest to go from an equation to a graph. This one's the quickest to graph. This one's the quickest to go from 2 points to a equation, right? This one is the quickest to go from a graph to an equation, I think. So they all have, you know, very, very powerful uses. And if I take any one of them and do some algebra and make them look like any of the other ones, it's the same line. You do algebra to a equation, it doesn't change where the line is, especially if you do it right. If you make a mistake, then that might. All right, so let's look at a couple examples. If I start with the equation, make sure I'm on your screen again. Let's move this down a little bit. Make sure it's focused. All right. If I start with y equals 5x plus 4, and I want a line that's parallel to that, so P-A-R-A-L-L-E-L to this, and I want it to go through point -3, -6. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, what slope do I want? Well, I want it to be parallel to this equation, and this equation has a slope of 5. Okay, so off to the side here, I just wrote m equals 5 because I know I want my slope to be 5. Now, I have a point and I have a slope. I'm going to throw it in the point slope form. Okay, point slope form is y minus y1, so it's y minus -6 equals m, that's 5, times x minus, and that's, in this case, -3, that's my x value, x1, just like that. So I've got an equation, but they want it in slope-intercept for, so they want it to look like y equals mx plus b, so I've got to do a little bit of algebra here. First here, I'm gonna simplify this into y plus 6, right? Minus -6 is the same as plus 6, equals 5 times the quantity x plus 3. So I simplified this the same way. I'm not going to touch this side for a second. Y plus 6 equals, and I'm going to distribute this side. 5x plus 15. Now I'm really close to what I want. I just need this to be gone, right? So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. And I end up with y equals 5x plus 9. And that's going to be my answer on that one. Okay, so a lot of little mechanics in this one, but I think you work through it and it'll be all right. Just a note, in some of your homework, there's going to be some fractions. A lot of those, when you're working through them, the fractions show up right at the end, right? So don't let the fractions freak you out. I mean, you'll end up with something like 7y equals 3x plus 8. And right at the end you go, oh, I need to divide both sides by 7. You get y equals 3/7 x plus 8/7. and just that fast, they'll fall out right at the end. This is in slope intercept form, right? So don't let those freak you out in the homework assignment. Have a great day.